Hello, seventh grade. Today we are going to be focusing on new book club books. And one of your options happens to be a series of books. And this first book in the series, book number one, is called 6 Months to Live. And in this book, you meet Dawn Rochelle, and she's 13 years old, and she is your typical 13-year-old. And then her life is changed when she is diagnosed with leukemia. And so this is her story and how she works through the ups and downs of being diagnosed with leukemia. And this is the first book in a series of four. The next book in this series happens to be I Want to Live, and this is Dawn's story when she's 14 years old. She has been cured of cancer. Her cancer has gone into remission, and she has returned to normal life. But unfortunately, she's a little bit nervous that she might be sick again, and so she's not sure if the cancer has come back. And you'll have to read to find out if that's the case, if her leukemia did return. The third book in this series is titled So Much to Live For, and here is where you meet Dawn when she's 15 years old, and she is really excited to be moving forward in life, and she's at camp, and she's helping young kids at camp who've been diagnosed with cancer, and yet she still has the lingering memories of being diagnosed with leukemia. So how will she work through the mental mind game that's taking place? And finally, the fourth book is when she's 16 years old, and she can drive and she has so much freedom, but she's concerned again, even though she has all of this freedom, the lingering idea that the cancer might come back is really negatively impacting her life. And so this is how she works through that mental struggle. So that's a series of four books about Dawn Rochelle. And then there's this other one by Lurleen McDaniels titled Heart to Heart. And this is actually takes a little bit of a different health and wellness focus. One of the characters in this book is the recipient of a heart transplant. So you hear about the individual who receives the heart transplant and how this individual is moving forward in life, but then you also hear about the individual that died because she died, she was able to donate her heart. And so this is the story between the story of the individual who died and the story of the girl who has been given a second chance at life because of the heart transplant. So this is Heart to Heart by Lurleen McDaniels. So those are five of your options for books that you could potentially read for book clubs. This next book is titled Izzy Willy Nilly, and this is the story of 15-year-old Izzy. She has the ideal life, and she's on the cheerleading squad. She has great friends, and she unfortunately is involved in a car crash. And because of her injuries, she ends up having to get her right leg amputated. And this former cheerleader really struggles to return to normal life, or what would be considered her new normal. And she struggles to maintain her friendships, and she struggles to maintain a positive relationship with her family members. And finally, one person steps forward, one person that she never would have been friends with before the amputation steps forward and kind of helps her move through the new normal that she now lives as an individual, an amputee. Then the next one is So Be It. And this is the story of a young girl whose mother is identified with a disability and she cannot speak. The other piece to this is the young girl is being taken care of by her mother, who can't speak, and the neighbor. And the neighbor has a phobia where she's scared to leave the house. And so Heidi is trapped, and she wants to find out more about her family history. She wants to find out more about her father and where she came from. And so she's trying to put all these puzzle pieces together and takes off on an adventure across the country. The next one is titled Slob. Slob is about a young man who symbolically has Oreos in his lunch every day. And unfortunately, he is the victim of bullying, and some not so nice things are said to him. And he relies on those Oreos on a daily basis until those Oreos go missing. And this is the mystery of how he comes to terms with who he is as a person and how he can find happiness. One of my favorites, Okay for Now, is about Doug. And Doug is a young boy living in New York in 1968, and he and his family moved from New York City to upstate New York. So he's the new kid in town. And unfortunately, his dad is a bit mean. Mean would be saying it lightly. His dad is really mean, and his dad and brother are not making a very good name for the family in this new community that they live. And so Doug is trying to figure out how he can move forward and establish some friendships and find his way without having to follow in his father's footsteps. This one is titled The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian, and this one is amazing. This is about Junior. He is growing up on the Spokane Indian Reservation, and he is smart. And so he makes the decision, with a little bit of help from his family, to go to transfer from the school on the reservation to the school, the public school down in the neighboring farm town. And he is doing something that none of his Native American classmates have ever thought to do. And so he is one of the few Native Americans at this school down the road, and he's smart, but he is picked on. He's picked on by people on the reservation, and he's picked on by his classmates at his new school, and he has to find the inner toughness to work through all of that. This one is titled Pop, and this is written by Gordon Corman. This is the story of a young man named Marcus, who is brand new in town, and he is a pretty good football player, but he is really struggling on the football team, and he establishes a friendship with Charlie Popovich, who is a 50-year-old former football player, and he is giving Marcus secrets about how to become a better player. Unfortunately, Charlie has a secret of his own that he's working through, and his family doesn't want others to find out about his secret. And so Marcus is torn between doing the right thing and making sure Charlie's safe and keeping their secret. Then there's The Invisible Boy. This is about Finn Garrett, who is really struggling with mourning the loss of a family member, and he feels like he's so depressed and so sad that he is turning invisible. And so who is going to help him feel better about his situation and see that there is light at the end of the tunnel? You'll have to read to find out. You'll have to click on the next video to see the rest of the books that are available.